I wanted to welcome you tonight for a very, very special evening. I'll tell you how this evening is so special. When the situation of the Iranians was getting worse and worse, I just received something which was a post which was shared with me, and I looked at it, and it was by Dr. Farid Sabet. And I searched and I searched and I found him. And I asked him if it is possible to speak at our fireside. And he immediately responded, yes. I am indebted to him for actually being so easy to find, to be found, and and so quick to answer. So we have been communicating, particularly because the situation of both the Baha'i friends and the Iranians have become worse and worse. And we thought tonight would be a very special night. At the end of our session from 8:30 on, we have a devotional, and we have dedicated this devotional to the people of Iran. So stay with us and say prayers. After all, we are all sisters and brothers, and we are all brokenhearted. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, as you know, Dr. Sabet's theme is Fire and Light, from Fragmentation to Wholeness. And I will read you just 1/50th of his bio. The rest of it, I will do it next time. Dr. Farid Sabet is a board certified psychiatrist with over 3 decades of experience in clinical practice, a graduate of the Indiana University School of Medicine. He completed his residency training at the renowned Cleveland Clinic Foundation. This is just a speck. So I hope he will continue to cooperate with us. And as I mentioned, he actually made sure that I know that this gathering is dedicated to the Baha'is and the people of Iran and the nation as a whole. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And without further ado, Dr. Sabet, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful. This is like a dream come true. So, first of all, thank you, Mrs. Masroor, for bringing us together. I know it takes a lot of planning and effort to bring gatherings like this. This is really a wonderful occasion because I'm seeing a lot of friends and family that I haven't seen in years come together in this space. And some of our friends locally that we've had classes and ongoing get-togethers, we had sort of stopped for a period of time because of the winter and travels. So it's nice to see you all here. A special shout out to Dr. Zabi Sabet, my dear uncle, and some of our Ohio friends. I think I see Mertajan from Ohio, who's here, our previous home from 3 years ago, and all my local buddies here, and the new people that we're meeting and visiting. Did you say we're going to start without a short prayer, or did we say a prayer and I missed it?
No, I
Okay.
missed it.
No, that's
I
okay.
was so excited that the friends sent me messages. What about children's prayer? So I
Yeah.
apologize. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, Regina is here too. So why don't we start with our prayers? Regina, you would be number 4 then. Portuguese. Please, please.
Yes, of course.
But
I
not
can
now,
say,
Regina, not now. I'll let you know when.
okay,
Okay.
Regina, you made it.
Okay. So I think we lost. Okay, why don't you, Diana, why don't you start with the children? And Dr. Ziai, please, why don't we ask you to say number 2, please? Thank you. Diana, please go ahead, unmute yourself.
What's it like? Hogar, vivir, comer brava, Bye.
Rose, you need to turn on your voice. You are off.
Farouz, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, Dr. Ziai.
الله ابها ای قوی قدیر کل در قبضه قدرت اسیریم تو مجیر تو دستگیر عنایتی کن و موهبتی فرما ابواب فضل بگشا و نظر الطاف افکن نسیم جان بخش بفرست دلهای مشتاق را زنده کن دیده ها را روشن کن و ساحت دلها را رشک گلزار و چمن نما بشارت به ارواح ده و مسرت به جانها بخش قوت قدیم ظاهر نما و قدرت عظیم باهر طیور نفوس را در هوای دیگر پرواز ده و محرمان ناسوت را به اسرار ملکوت دمساز کن قدم ثابت بخش قلب راسخ عطا فرما ما گنهکاریم تو آمرزگار ما بندگانیم تو پروردگار بی سر و سامانیم تو ملجأ و پناه بر نشر نفحاتت تأیید کن بر اعلای کلماتت توفیق بخش بی سران را سروران کن بی نوایان را گنج روان بخش ناتوانان را توانایی بخش و ضعفا را قوت آسمانی ده تویی پروردگار تویی آمرزگار تویی داور کردگار
Regina, go ahead, please.
I will say the prayer in Portuguese, creating me a pure heart. Cria em mim coração puro, ó meu Deus, e renova uma consciência tranquila dentro de mim, ó minha esperança. Através do Espírito do Poder, confirma-me em tua causa, ó meu bem-amado, e pela luz da tua glória, revela-me teu caminho, ó alvo do meu desejo, através do poder da tua transcendente grandeza. Eleva-me ao céu da tua santidade, à origem do meu ser, e com os sopros da tua eternidade alegra, ó tu que és meu Deus. Faze tuas melodias imperecíveis irradiarem sobre mim tranquilidade, ó meu companheiro. E as riquezas do teu semblante antigo me livrarem de tudo, menos de ti, ó meu mestre. E o anúncio da revelação da tua incorruptível essência me trazer júbilo, ó tu que és o mais manifesto dos manifestos, o mais oculto dos ocultos.
Thank you very much, friends. I just wanted to say that from 8:30 on. Please stay behind and participate in the prayers and reflections. It seems that I'm having a bit of a problem with my video. Dr. Sabet, I will make you a host, so if I get out, it won't create problems. And I'll try to fix this. Would you please accept to be a host?
Sure. Yeah. Do I need to do anything on my end or?
Yes, accept. Host changed. Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead,
Okay. Yeah,
Mr. Dr. Sabet. Go
we're
ahead.
we're good. Thank you kindly. Thanks again for planning all this and bringing us together. I know these firesides have been wonderful. The previous topics I had privilege of hearing and listening to some of them. They're very educational. I'm hoping tonight would be a little different. Our hearts are heavy. Many of you have different levels of information about what's going on right now in Iran with the Iranians in general, and especially our Baha'i family in Iran. The intention I have tonight together is we collectively send our energy to all the Iranians, especially the Baha'i friends, especially the ones who are lingering in prisons. Things have been really horrendous and awful to a point of not only exceeding some of the atrocities and the horrors that we've seen in the last first 180 years, but the last 47 years, but the last few weeks have been especially terrible, and we will go over some of that stuff. Some of you might not be familiar with all the details and things that are going on in Iran and what I'm talking about. So if for those of you who are very familiar and aware, this would be something that you know already, but allow me just to repeat it because our news media has been horrendously deaf and mute in conveying what's going on and what has happened. In fact, to a point that when you mention the level of atrocities that occurred in the last month and a half in Iran, many people think that you're exaggerating. And like any dictatorial regimes, when some event like this takes place, of course, the correct statistics is not available. But we're talking, friends, in numbers exceeding 30 to 40,000 people were killed. Most of them young people who were just coming to the streets looking for, the rights and sort of an end to this madness. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but many of you might not have heard unless you're on different formats of social media or have friends and relatives. We have many of our Baha'is, especially beautiful Baha'i youth, boys and girls in prisons under torture and pressure to come to give confessions as the last dying breaths of this madness is taking place in Iran. And of course, we comfort ourselves with coming together and with prayers, but I don't know about you, but I know many of you are in situations that you haven't slept well. You can't really focus on the moment because we're thinking about our loved ones. Their beautiful faces appear. And thank God there is a lot of noise around the world, and the Baha'i international agencies have given voice to each one of them at a time. But it's really something that is beyond the capacity of any human to endure. And in my work as a psychiatrist, when a trauma exceeds anything we are able to tolerate, we're dealing with a traumatic experience that affects not only the friends in Iran, but by proxy, rest of us. So my angle is a little different. In the last 40 years, I've heard a lot of Baha'i talk about, how Baha'is we welcome hardships and troubles, and it's a wonderful thing, and we bounce out of it because it doesn't affect us the same way. Well, the reality is not that at all. That it affects us because we are physical bodies, and concurrently we occupy a psychological realm. We live in social situations, and then we have a spiritual dimension. But I think it's time for us to really be aware of what's going on and what is happening, and maybe some suggestions about how we approach it. And of course, we want to sort of look and study and take pride in the resilience of our Baha'i family and what we have been given. So with that to start, I just wanted to bring attention. Many of you in the United States have received the letter. There was a letter sent in response to an individual believer by our beloved Universal House of Justice. It was from the Department of Secretariat on February 3rd, I believe. And it was just in a very brief review of the Baha'i perspective that we really want to keep ourselves aware of the big picture. And the big picture is that we all know we are in the process of, and again, I shouldn't assume that everyone here is familiar with the Baha'i writings, but the Baha'i revelation, since its appearance 180 years ago, the whole process has been, the new day has dawned on in the world. And there are two processes going on. There is a process of disintegration and the process of integration. And as we see that, apparently the friends in Iran, as this letter points out, have been privileged with playing a special role in sacrifices that takes in this transition. And many of the passages in the writings really refer to this dynamic of fire and light, fire as the process of purification, and light as the unifying power that we are working towards. So with that in mind, and with our attention towards these friends who are suffering so much, I wanted to share some thoughts about what might be going on, what distinguishes the Baha'i community from what's happening, how we co-share with the general Iranian community. Many of you have relatives and are familiar and are aware. I want to give a shout out again to my dear Amir Sabetan. He is one of my favorite people in this DC area. He found the Baha'i faith on his own about 3-4 years ago, something to that effect. And we've been in communication a lot. And the injury and hurt that we all feel in our hearts is just incredible. So and please let me know if we are able to share the screen together. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, great.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And the post that Furuz Khanum was referring to, I wrote something, my heart was just bleeding so much about the moral strengths that the friends are responding to, the psychological response to the atrocities in Iran. And again, I'm not going to be waxing too much clinical, but I think it's time for us to be aware that this stuff affects us. And many of us are triggered by what is going on in Iran right now with the events that we have at least seen in the last 47 years. I remember in 1983, I was pretty young. And when the 10 angels of Shiraz were martyred, it really, at some level, part of me died, because spiritually we look at it, we have the prayers to rely on, we have history of our glorious faith that is riddled with history of sacrifice of heroes, but that was too close that you felt helpless, and at a human level we're feeling these things. So I guess tonight I want to have a theme that we juxtapose our spiritual approach to how we look at persecutions and trauma, and then also try to reconcile that a little bit about what is happening inside each of us, and also what might be happening with our friends in Iran. And so many of these kids are so young. There's, I think, 3 or 4 of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, in city of Kerman, for example, under horrendous conditions, were brought to television to confess that they were whatever charges that were bringing for them. And when you think about what these families had to go through, or another young man, an 18-year-old Baha'i, in one of the towns, I don't recall where it was exactly, his parents begged him not to go to the streets to march with his friends because he's a Baha'i and he shouldn't be participating in politics, and they were worried about his safety. And this kid goes out and he's a beautiful, handsome young man. And of course he was killed in the arm of his father who found him and brought him back. So these are the stories that your friends are hearing. And for those of you who might not be aware of these, I just want you to also tonight develop a sense of sensitivity. Comments like, oh, martyrdom in the path of God is just a wonderful path that Baha'u'llah has provided. It is not an appropriate response at this stage and freshness of what we're dealing with. And the colors I've chosen is really moving from the fire of disintegration to the light of integration. In Persian, by the way, in writings of the Bab, this is referred a lot. If you want to have a compilation that really summarizes the beautiful writings of the Bab, Baha'u'llah, and Abdul Baha on crisis and victory, of course, there's a compilation named Crisis and Victory, but there's another compilation called Fire and Light. I highly recommend it. It's in the Baha'i libraries all over the place that you can find. And in Persian, the word for fire is nar, and the word for light is nur. And the difference between those two words is one letter, and that letter in numerical value has the value of 5. And again, this is purely my personal take of this. I'm just mentioning this. None of the stuff is anything authoritative. Obviously, it's my personal take and how I remember these things. And moving from the fire of cleansing through the manifestation of God, through the gate of God, through Bab, who's the numerical letter equals 5, we reach the stage of light. So forms of violence that we are witnessing, physical, psychological warfare, and spiritual assault on people. And again, let's use the example of the Baha'i community, because again, out of nowhere, even though there's persecutions everywhere in Iran, the focus on Baha'is is a lot more. The scapegoating, as the Baha'i community has always faced. And a lot of times we're sort of relatively quiet and don't raise our noise as much. But I think the time has really come to put those things aside and to bring this to world's attention. And I'm very thankful to the Baha'i international community and other agencies and resources that are working with that. And of course, we have institutions to help us through this process. Of course, what they have been trying to do unsuccessfully in the last 47 years to fragment the identity of the community. And for those of you that are well familiar with this, this is a painful experience. And for those of you who are not aware, please talk to friends who see it. Even in our own community, there's always triggering of the Persian friends who have witnessed this firsthand, and then almost impatience about hearing what they have been through by friends because this has taken so long. They want to sort of give the view of eroding people's inner freedom and especially destroying hope for change. This kid that went to the street and was shot, he said, if I don't go, Dad, nothing will change. When I read that sentence, I cried for a good while because he's right. He was going to finish school. He's not allowed to enroll in any universities. And we've sort of taken these matters into our own assumption that, yeah, these things happen because we have so many of the friends who are here and they've made it through the underground university. But when we think about it, this thing is nonsense since 2026 going on. And the noise has to be reaching to the entire world. That unfortunately is a bit quieter than we all were hoping for. Just very briefly, from a medical standpoint, the way I look at all of us is we are biopsychosocial spiritual beings, that we cannot, through the power of prayer, heal when somebody hits us with a baseball bat. The same way when this kind of trauma happens, it activates all kinds of circuitries and systems that create a a sense of overdrive and constant threat detection. And I've seen this with many of the recent arrivals from Iran, and God can only imagine what is happening with the friends in Iran now. The power of decision making is limited. It affects us in the executive functioning of our brain. The memory disruption, fragmented memories, temporal confusion, intrusive flashbacks, these are the things that our friends are experiencing. I remember a few years ago, I was at an Arizona conference, and one of the friends who had written a book about the persecutions, and it was talked about, and everybody was very sad and depressed. I asked a single question about anyone is addressing what's happening with the families or the friends who have come here. And, there was almost total silence. Not only there was not an interest, but there was almost like a fear of such discussion. And they thought I'm just, playing psychiatrist with the group. But then you hear the stories that surface in all levels of life in people's presence. So the reason I'm mentioning these things is not to give a medical school class, but I think it's just to be aware of a little bit of this dynamic. It's time for us to acknowledge and to come clean that this is really happening, that some of the things that the friends are experiencing in avoidance behavior or feeling anxious or always having a sense of vigilance around us, these are effects of the things that have happened to the friends and to our family members. Of course, the Baha'i community we know is a model for constructive resilience. The community solidarity is something that books and research papers would be written about how the Baha'i community kept its identity. The meaning making, for example, seeing themselves in a bigger arc of existence, and how the coming together of the world through their sacrifices is something that the friends have always done. But the narrative, of course, the writings are the sacred source, that their meanings are limitless, but the narrative has to also be at times updated to the understanding of the modern world. Otherwise, we will appear somewhat irrelevant, especially to the younger people. And then reclaiming agency, because everything that has been done to the Baha'i community in Iran is to take away their agency, to meet, to bury, to get educated, to earn a living. All these things have been taken away. And again, that model of how this community has survived with their sheer faith and guidance from our supreme institutions is something quite exemplary. We can also help each other. And then I guess another agenda I have, or a dream that I have, is that when Iran opens, we have a lot of work to do. First of all, I want to create a team to document what has happened. So this is not something that we would just say as Baha'is, oh yeah, this happened like in the 80s. We all have family members who were martyred, lost faith, lost property, and then we just sort of quietly prayed about it. But I think this is something that we need to tell the world. The Jewish community has done quite well after Holocaust in documenting and assessing and creating research environment around that, about what happens to our physical bodies, or to our psychological beings, to our communities, to our marriages, and then of course spiritually, that nihilism that is created, and we have seen people who were not able to uphold or recover from such things. And so we can recover aspects of the brain through a different interpretation of the events, values that are upheld. Again, the friends in Iran have had very active, for example, training institutes. And you can see why, because it almost, they are aware that this is the life-giving water. Here, it is the same thing for us. We're just not as aware that really the outside world, how it could affect and shape us. This is a very famous quote of the famous psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who was in concentration camps on 3 different occasions. And in moments that everything was stripped away from him, he has said something that it really challenges the modern neuroscientists who say that we don't have any free will, because he says between a stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. So as Baha'is, we interpret that there is always a soul or a spirit behind the choices that we make that is above and beyond our physicality. A little bit more about the narrative that is created. Trauma impacts our identities. It fragments our self-concepts, our narratives, our stories they've been trying to break apart. Our sense of agency, as I mentioned, and connection to values. And it creates victim identity. We've seen that in various cultures and groups. A sense of shame and helplessness. Remember how in Iran, we couldn't even say, well, I'm a so-and-so, I'm a Baha'i. We would say, I belong to what? Aqaliyat, a minority, because they had created this sense of shame not to even speak loudly about who you are and what your identity is. And reconstructing that identity is that we need to reclaim our coherent narrative. We need to listen to each other more. We need to put together about what has happened to us in a more realistic and time-sensitive way. Sometimes we lecture each other as if these events have taken place 2,000 years ago. We're talking about live issues, live lives.
Dr.
Friends,
Sabet,
yes, yes, please.
are you showing slides? Because we don't see any movement of slides.
Oh, you're not seeing any movement of slides?
No.
I am so sorry. So that is, I don't know what is exactly going on. Let me see what we can do if I can
We're only seeing
reshare that.
we're only seeing your first page.
You only saw the first page. Let me try it another way, and then you can help me if you can see that or not. Thank you for correcting that and letting me know.
If you go up to view and have the drop down, it will say slideshow.
I did.
Oh,
Sometimes it wants to play that. Can you see this movement?
Yes.
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 Okay, so let me just go over that. Thank you for stopping me, by the way. I'm going to keep getting through that, and then we can see that. So can you see this?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Nope, that's not what I wanted to see. Okay, there we go. Does this move this way?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I'll just pause a little bit on each of the slides that we've been through. And please stop me, or if you have any questions, either now or later, please remember, and we can go over that. Is it moving still?
Yes.
That's
All
we
right,
can
thank
do.
you, thank you. Okay. So I think we were... That was the quote of Viktor Frankl. By the way, did you notice I have chosen Iranian flags, colors?
Yeah.
I wanted you to see that. So many people sort of believe that up to recent times that one's brain is damaged, and I've seen that from some of the friends who come from Iran. They're saying that we're just damaged goods, Dr. Sabet. We've seen so much. I've had families who were, for example, witness to right after the martyrs of Hamadan. For those of you who are familiar, you know what I'm talking about. How can you recover from something like that? Well, we can. From a physical standpoint, we can, but it's going to take some acknowledgement, patience, and understanding. And I am almost preparing, and I think some of my dear friends who are in various aspects of mental health, we need to receive these friends once Iran opens. I'm hoping for that. With repeated positive experiences, safe relationships and connections. Many of us are not used to a safe relationship. People are afraid. I've seen that even the kids are afraid of a particular look or projection of a certain kind of authority. That conclusion is that the brain we have is not the brain we are stuck with. We can affect positive changes. Okay. One of the things that we're seeing with the news coming out of Iran and the contrast from the Baha'i community and some of the things that I hear are this healthy versus unhealthy responses to moral injury. We are absolutely welcome and need to have grief and outrage. What happened a month and a half ago, like my dear Amir Sabetan I've been in contact with, if we don't have outrage, we're not actually breathing or having a human being with a pulse. When you see so many people and the pictures of these people coming, physicians who were trying to, for example, help an injured person who themselves were arrested and were threatened with death. Patients who were recovering and they were shot to death. The stories that are coming up of both horrors and the heroism of Iranian people in general and the Baha'i friends is just unbelievable. Having a moral clarity, it sharpens you at the time of such things. And we've seen this in people of Iran. There is a sense of, the secret of divine civilization. The main theme that our beloved master identified was this sense of dignity, to regain a sense of dignity to rebuild your society and your culture. We see that in people of Iran right now. The empathy is deepening. People are helping each other. Today, I heard the news of a physician who tried to save a patient who was riddled with bullets, her young body. And the authorities were trying to have him hand over this person. And he not only refused, but arranged in a way that she would be hidden away by one of the nurses that came and took her away. But he did not have access to proper medicine, especially pain medicine. This physician goes to the streets and looks for some pain medicine, some morphine, and a drug dealer approaches him and gives him a bottle because he was not allowed to have access to that in his hospital. He tries to pay the drug dealer. The drug dealer says, I have sold my soul selling drugs, but I will not sell my humanity and my nation for that. So that's the empathy deepening. The person that we think has least level of empathy actually comes together, and someone who's supposed to be in charge of people is showing no sign of conscience. Purposeful action, community solidarity, the things we need to be very careful with, and this is going to happen because I heard all these statements from all friends of all walks of life. A certain of a hardened hatred, despair and hopelessness is at all-time high. In communities that you have a lot of friends who are affected, a lot of Iranians, I can't tell you how strong and dangerous it is. And it also leads to addictions. I have another presentation about that, how this process leads to surge of addictions, and that's pretty awful right now in Iran. People feeling emotionally numb is pretty common. I've seen that even in a lot of the Baha'i friends who have come. Fragmentation of identity. And that internalized oppression is something that people then are hard and difficult to themselves. Ability to even enjoy yourself at the simplest way. I've seen that throughout the years. You tell one of the friends like so-and-so went golfing and they're like, oh, are they allowing themselves to have fun like that when the world is like this? That kind of a statement that you're not allowed to have any kind of movement of life. So constructive resilience that we've seen from the friends that has many, many aspects. Again, I'm going over that post that Furuz Khanum had asked me to talk about. This doesn't mean forgiveness of the unforgivable. I know a lot of times with Baha'is, we quote writings and we want to immediately jump into this. Slow down, friends. This is 2026. Denial of reality. Oh, things aren't so bad. We're supposed to be this way. And passivity or submission. We shouldn't be talking about it as a political statement. Absolutely not. None of that stuff, Amir. None of that stuff, Amir. No worries. It does mean refusing to let cruelty determine who we become. And integrating pain into purpose and maintaining ethical coherence under pressure. For those of you who are familiar with the Baha'i writings, this integrating pain into purpose is a question of, question of theodicy is a philosophical question that people use against religions. If there is a just and good God, why does he allow such events to take place? Why is there evil in the world if there is God? And again, I don't claim to have the answer or give it in 30 seconds, but the fire tablet of the Blessed Beauty tells us what? He assumes the human side and narrates pain. And he starts with the fire metaphor. That's the first 2/3 of the, if you're not familiar with that, please look it up. It's one of the most beautiful spiritual statements on the question of theodicy. I think Book of Job has been quoted most, but Baha'u'llah's response is to have a conversation between this juxtaposition of pain and the divine purpose that he describes. And at the end, instead of giving a pure logical answer, he gives himself as an example of life. By the way, this letter from House of Justice addresses that. Exactly that. That's from Fire Tablet, in my humble view. Baha'u'llah says, don't ask me why these things are happening. Look at my life. I'm not defined by my pain. You can join me in rehabilitation of the world. And that basically, for those of you who are not familiar with the Baha'i faith, that's, to me, a summary of the Baha'i faith, is that it integrates pain, and the purpose of it is to betterment of the world. And if you've been in any of the training institutes or Ruhi Book 1, the betterment of the world is that word, Islah Alam. And maintaining coherence under pressure. Please stop me if things are not clear or nothing is moving or the slides are not moving. The word protagonist is used a lot also in Baha'i gatherings. It's a very, very crucial, I think, word that we use. And it started from the time of the Bab. We don't see ourselves as a follower of a leader, a religious leader in spiritual matters. We don't see ourselves as victim of what was done to us, our powerlessness narrative, waiting for a rescue of a promised one in future. Remember that in the Rizwan Garden, Baha'u'llah in 1863 ended that psychology of waiting for something to happen. We are there. And our identity is not defined by our wounds or injury. Again, a reference, Fire Tablet, Baha'u'llah says, I won't allow that. You won't either. I'm being stuck in the past. I think many of the friends who emigrated around or prior to the revolution, I think in a way we're stuck in the past. We keep repeating the heroes of our 1970s. We should remember them. They're wonderful. They are actually eternal. But we need to look at now and the things that are happening around the world now. And the protagonist stance is defined by our values and choices, agency-centered narrative, active engagement in the betterment of the world. If you're familiar within the Baha'i community, these plans that are given to us in the midst of all these hardships, we are still creating safe shelters for rest of the humanity. And our identity is defined by the integrity that we have. What time am I over my time? Furuz Khanum?
Never.
Okay, we will
Go
finish
ahead.
soon. And understanding the delayed response, the full impact might come a little bit later. Because during trauma right now, I felt that way by proxy. You can only imagine. By the way, there are different forms of trauma. Some of us who were right around that time, we are not even allowed to talk about what happened to us because the friends who are suffering in Iran, it was so horrendous. Just hearing them, I remember I was in medical school when my dad was in prison, for example, as a member of the assembly in northern Iran in Qaim Shah, former Shahi. And that by proxy, you're affected in a way because our generation was not even allowed to say anything because nothing happened to us in that sense. And when you hear now what is happening to the friends in Iran, that is reactivating that angle or that aspect in me. During trauma, it actually is adaptive sometimes to have some emotional numbing, dissociating as a protection, and focusing on immediate threats. I mean, our friends are trying not to get killed or tortured every day. And God knows how they're going to get their basic needs. And then after that, our jobs is continue to working, having our nervous systems to begin to process, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. And some of the previously suppressed emotions begin to emerge. I don't know if you've have seen grief, rage, and fear surface in friends who've been witnessing such events. It is all normal and necessary. It doesn't mean lack of faith or weakness. We need to get over that. This has been 47 years of sustained persecutions, friends. The response of the Baha'i community in the middle of all this, having no violence and retaliation. May the Blessed Beauty Baha'u'llah be proud of this community. Remember how proud he is in the tablet of the world, Loh Dunya, when he mentions what happened. I was looking at in Ashgabad. Remember when the Baha'i was martyred and the friends with, I think, Mirza Abul Fazl was their spokesperson. They asked for the people that committed that crime not to be to receive the capital punishment and just be imprisoned just in its place. And Baha'u'llah was so immensely proud of them. Our Baha'i community in Iran is something that we are all immensely proud of. No cultivation of persistent hatred. They continue to serve society, and as you know, that's the sensitivity. Many of these young people who are in prison right now is because they continue to hold children's classes. What was the guilt of Mona Mahmoud Nejad? Children's classes, continued service to society. You see what pure darkness this community has faced with as light. They maintained dignity and moral coherence and created alternative education systems and preserved community bonds to the best of their abilities. There's a few quotes. I'll let you read them. I'm using a funny format to move through this, but for the interest of time, I'm moving through. So our true resistance begins where coercive power has no access in the inner life. I was listening to the story again, remember from your Baha'i history when the beloved master Abdul Baha was taken into custody around, the community of inquirers. They had come, and the covenant breakers were creating all kinds of problems, and they threatened him that you will be to eternity in prison. And Abdu'l-Baha starts laughing, and they're like, what are you laughing about? He says, because you have no access to my eternity. If you can imprison my physical body, my soul you have no access to. And so when you say to eternity, that is funny to me. And that's a posture that I think all of us can contemplate. And I think these are some of the things that we've talked about. And no regime survives the sustained presence of moral coherence. All right.
Dr. Farid,
Yes, dear.
would you want some of these slides to be read out loud? Because these are very important things, and I wanted to ask you if you can later on send them to me,
Sure.
and I can share it with friends. But we can't let this go. Please, can you go back, and if some people can read some part of it, I would really appreciate it.
Sure. Let me just read this one, and then I will go ahead and share. I really don't like we've had a class, and some of the friends who are come, they're probably all surprised because I religiously observe a time standard, and I don't like Zoom meetings that go beyond a certain time. So I will go ahead and do that. I promise I will share that with you. And there's a lot of material that we could cover. And I had a different kind of a talk if there were more physicians in the group. But what Iran needs today is not louder hatred, but steadfast souls who refuse to surrender their humanity even under unbearable pressure. And so I promise I will share those slides. There's a lot of useful material for those of you who would be interested. There were some quotes, but I really wanted to open up for some discussion because I brought up a lot of different points, and it might have jogged some of you friends and some of the issues that have come up, or maybe for some of you, you were not even aware of what has happened in the last month and a half. As I said, the coverage of the news in our media has been almost non-existent, very, very limited or inaccurate. And then amongst the Baha'i institutions, I think they're so busy working, defending the friends, that the information to us is limited. So I don't know how I can have access to the questions. Would that be okay, Furuz Khanum?
I think it would be perfect, and also I think we need another session to actually continue this discussion with your permission.
Sure, but let's see what the friends are thinking, and if you could have maybe access to the questions, Furuz Khanum, and then you can sort of read them loud, and maybe we can together address and learn them.
Perfect. So you would like the friends to write their question in the chat.
Or, I mean, we can do it verbally too. I know
Okay.
there are some
Alice
raised
is
hands.
here. Alice is here, and she would like to ask a question.
Okay, and I know Indu Khanum has a question as well. Where is
Sure.
Indu? Everybody needs to meet Indu. She's wonderful. So yes, so Furuz Khanum, if you could sort of moderate the questions, and then
Sure.
we will go ahead and
Absolutely.
see what we can collectively
Sure.
bring our
Sure.
minds and thoughts together.
Perfect. I would like to ask you to make me a host again. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
how do I do that?
And next to my picture, there is a 3 points on top
There
of
we
that,
go.
and
Oh,
make
yes.
a host.
Furuz Khanam, you are a host.
You are a host, Aziz.
Oh, because I made you a host. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Go ahead. Alice, please go ahead.
Holy Spirit, help me tonight. In the writing, Baha'u'llah talk about the pupil of the eye. In Iran, I know about the persecution that goes on there because my first 10 years of the Baha'i faith I taught in the HBHI or BIH University. I taught a lot of the young people there. I know about going to jail and the parents in jail. I knew a lot. And they would tell me that the people in America need to pray more. They didn't mind being persecuted. But I want to go back and say this. The Black race was held here 400 years of. Now, we started out 400 years in Egypt, and the Black people in this country has suffered a lot in this country. So listen to this tonight. I was paralleling what you was talking about, Dr. Sabet, to what's going on in Iran. The difference between what went on in the Black community, and at the time, we did not have the Baha'i. We didn't have these prayers. We didn't know about Baha'u'llah. A lot of Blacks are not in this faith for a certain reason, but we need to be here. I felt tonight we need to be here, and more Black people need to come into faith, and you guys need to embrace us. We have a lot of pain and suffering that we can help you heal. And not only you helping you heal, you have healed me tonight, looking from your point of view. This need to be out in our Black community, whether we Baha'is or who we are, the way you explained tonight. The comparison of pain and suffering is the same for everybody, not just for you. We have healed a lot in the Black community, but I'm looking at you guys are going to be, a little bit pitiful, because he talked about the pupil of the eye. I'm not being here to say the greatest, but we have suffered. We have survived. We've been without the food. We've been without the shelter. We've been without the money. We've been without. I went the other day and bought chicken feet, and my kids were looking at me like, you got to be crazy. Nobody eating chicken feet. I said, this is what your ancestor survived on and had to eat to survive. We are survivors.
Well, Miss Alice, Dr. Alice, I wanted to first of all thank you for the teaching you did in the Baha'i higher education. That is wonderful. And I personally thank you, and on behalf of everyone else. You're absolutely correct. And what a beautiful reminder, because when we talk about fire and light, the light shines through the pupil of the eye, as you mentioned. And we just had a wonderful Black History Month event, Dr. Thelma Khalgati and some of the friends here. And that topic exactly came out because their presentation, it provided healing. It was right around the time that the news was just flowing from Iran. And hearing and being reminded of the resilience of the African American history in our nation was a healing to many of us. So absolutely correct. We need to embrace each other. We need to let others know that we don't define ourselves by our victimhood, by our strength, by the spirit. I always am learning a lot. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Indu, I think you had your hands up, dear.
Hello, everyone. Something that came through in your presentation today, as usual, I'm in awe of your ability to articulate a point of view. But the concept of having righteous outrage, that we should not be afraid or ashamed to advocate for those who now at this stage do not have a voice because they are behind this wall that is impenetrable. We cannot apologize for being strident and for being vociferous, for being brazen in advocating for Baha'is in Iran. However, I want to juxtaposition that with the observation that no matter what the Baha'i community has endured for several decades now in Iran, and we are still seeing people making their way to the US through Turkey. And, you know, in our community, we have several families that have recently arrived from there. Their ability to show compassion, remain grounded, be compassionate and kind has not been eroded. That is a testament to Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, and Shoghi Effendi. That despite everything we go through as a community, the faith persists, the ability to have compassion for fellow human beings, despite having suffered immense indignities, has persisted. So that parallel that you drew between what is an appropriate response and what is an inappropriate response was not lost. And I'm sure the rest of the people here agree.
Thank you, Indujan, for sharing that. By the way, Indujan is my neighbor. That's why she's so kind and saying nice things about me. So I thank you for that. Indu is one of those special souls that really provides hope to the hearts, because when we moved in here, she was investigating, and she's just a scholar in comparative religion, and she found the faith and your ability to see from outside, for example, the newly arrived friends and their qualities, and how the faith of Baha'u'llah has protected them from staying in utter hatred and falling apart, to being such wonderful, kind, contributors to society and for the betterment of the world. And with your assistance, by the way, she manages our feast and holy days to wonderful degree. So thank you for sharing that, Indu. That means a lot. I always cherish your observations, because in a way you have a little bit of an outside view, even though you've been in the Baha'i community for a while, but it's been only, what now, 2 years or so?
2.5 years, yes.
2.5 years. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, thank you, Indu. Any other questions or thoughts? I know there are many. I know on the chat there are 15. Furuz Khanam, are you moderating that?
Absolutely. Do you think there are questions?
We can look. I don't know if there are any other questions or any comments.
If I can ask, it said, do you think, okay, no.
Go ahead, please.
May I?
Dr. Ziai, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was going to say the enemies of the faith in Iran don't know anything about the faith. How can we make them to examine the faith?
You mentioned they don't know anything about the faith?
Yes.
I mean, it's a matter of knowing and knowing. If a heart is so, the Bab refers to friends not as enemies of the faith, but as letters of negation. I prefer that kind of a term. Of course, through the power of example, the friends who have been in these prisons, many of these people are slowly become aware, and I'm convinced that Iran very soon will open up, and the venues for teaching, would be there everywhere. But it is the human condition. I mean, we have to acknowledge also that human condition, as much as it has angelic potential, has a very, very strong ability to be lower than any form of creation on earth. I mean, it's confirmed by Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, and Shoghi Effendi. Some of these ulamas, the religious leaders, I'm not shy anymore, because there was a letter of Shoghi Effendi, and he refers to them as the lowest forms of moving creatures on the face of the earth. So it's not, Dr. Ziai, is not a matter of knowledge. I think a lot of times we think it's a matter of knowledge. It's a matter of heart. If his heart is so soaked in the lower self, in the shadow, in the need for power to, and as you know, Iranian culture has its own obsessions. As Miss Alice mentioned, for example, the oppressors of the African American community, they had certain obsessional beings, you know, they had certain delusional assumptions about self-importance, financial gain to be everything and end all. We are seeing these dark forces playing themselves. So I think it's way beyond just information and knowledge, because there's been plenty of chance for that to be provided. Now, there are people who might have change of hearts, but this is coming together of these forces of darkness have been lurking in quietude for too long, and they've had systems to sort of present themselves not as bad as they really are. And what has happened, I guess, what I want to convey is that in the last 8 weeks, the full ugly face came forward, and the world is just beginning to see it. It's almost like, I don't know, in 1933, people know Third Reich was rising, but they weren't sure what they were capable of till 1939, when we saw the full effect of the Nazi regime. And the current system, the regime, this system of oppression has really a collective and individual illnesses. It has obsessions with sexuality and suppression of women. So the women life freedom movement was a precedent to that. We can't be shy about these things. These are the things that our friends are facing. And again, I appreciate the spiritual angle of looking at it from the much higher level, but it's almost like an abscess being opened in a very fast way that has been increasing in size for a while.
Before we go to Q, there are a few questions. Isabel is asking how distress also leads to serious physical illnesses.
Oh, that's a very, very good question. How doesn't it lead to physical illnesses? There's a good book for anyone who's interested by Dr. Van der Kolk about body remembers everything. And my dear wife, who is a psychologist and an energy healer, everything is remembered in the body. That physical pains, illnesses, we didn't even talk about, I had another version of this talk, more medical, as far as even generational, the concept of epigenetics, both the post-Holocaust survivors and African American community has done research. I see it in the Baha'i community as well, that there is generational changes in our DNAs even on how they are expressed itself, not the DNA itself. It's called the telomeres, that they change. So these effects are real, and they need to be treated. And again, as you know, my perspective, and we're understanding more and more in medicine, the time for each system to be treated separately is over with. That someone with a persistent headache might have a trauma in their lives, or many other illnesses that we are seeing are related to these chronic effects. So yeah, that's an immense topic. It needs to be researched more, and we need to have awareness of dealing with some of the things that are going on. Of course, right now, the level of acuity of pain and things that are happening, and again, I didn't want to spend the night talking about that tonight, but like my dear Amir Sabet and I are in touch. He's in touch with a lot of the friends in Iran. It's indescribable, the level of inhumanity. The level of atrocity is indescribable of what is happening. And the aftermath of it, we will see somewhat more. But at the same time, I don't want to just project a sense of hopelessness, because the healing is there. We are a society that is resilient, as our dear sister Alice mentioned. No community is going to be suppressed out of existence. We can see the resilience of our African American brothers and sisters, how they were able to overcome this and reach the highest level. The Baha'i community has always cultivated resilience, education, and working through these. But right now, things are pretty horrendous.
Thank
There is a
you.
hand up.
Yes, Hugh,
What? Hugh? Yeah.
please unmute.
I have a different kind of perspective in that in 2022, a group of us, Baha'is and friends, applied to go to Iran. And at that time, there were many people, Baha'i friends, who objected to our visiting Iran and said that since it's not a friendly government, why should we go? Besides the dangers. But our thoughts at that time was, it's already 100 over years that we had persecutions non-stop in Iran. So we decided to visit, and then also at the same time say prayers for the friends, although we cannot make contact with the local friends. So we went, and our aim is to show the authority that we Baha'is are friendly towards all people, towards the Iranian people, you know. And then I don't know whether you think that is whether it's right or wrong, but we are going again in 2028, I hope, because we couldn't go to Haifa for pilgrimage for the within the 5 years period. So we plan to go to Haifa first, 2027, after the expiry of the terms, and then we want to visit the places where the Bab was, had to go.
But I'm sorry, where are you? Where are you residing in?
I'm in Singapore.
In Singapore. Okay. All
So
right.
there are
Well,
Malaysians and Singapore.
yes.
who went.
Thank you for sharing that. And friends, I want us to, I know there's so many wonderful topics we can cover, but I really want us to stick with briefer topics that pertain to what we talked about tonight, that involves interest of everyone. That's a very interesting point you raised, if you were able to travel. I have my personal opinion. Obviously, your decisions are yours. Uh, at times, obviously, it's a very dangerous situation, um, and it changes very rapidly. I was just traveling in Europe. We were in Spain and Portugal, and a couple of Persians from non-Baha'i, not Baha'is, from Australia, they were saying that, oh, we have Baha'i friends who go back and forth to Iran. Is not that bad. So if the interpretation of traveling to Iran that is not that bad, I don't agree with that personally, but I don't want to start a discussion here because this is going to be taking place and we're going to see this. This regime has survived by doing a few things differently in one way, giving the semblance of freedom for everyone else, allowing tourists come in and go to the beaches, and then having also people in prisons tortured. Like the other day, they released Mrs. Fariba Kamalabadi after 14 years of prison, first 10 years and then again. For what? I have no idea. So this is not the format to discuss that. But yes, you could go and come back, but next visit you might be in prison as a bargaining chip for the regime forever. And again, this is not the format to talk about it, but they've been inconsistent purposefully. There are major lobby groups in Washington, D.C., hired by the regime to present themselves not so difficult. And the reason I'm talking very openly with this, because this stuff is over with. We were told like not to talk about it or this is not appropriate. This ties in. There is a wonderful question about there have been many demonstrations against the present regime in Iran. Many thousand demonstrated in Ottawa recently, and some friends feeling conflicted. How do we participate? Obviously, I'm not an Ayatollah or Mullah. This is a question all of us ask. Many of you here, I know you participated. I don't see these participations necessarily anymore as political. A lot of them are just about human rights, about when you see this level of atrocities, when 40,000 plus people have been killed. Some of the friends, they wanted to have their voices heard and to be present there, and more power to them. Some other friends might have a feeling toward a different way of looking at this. We faced this in women's life freedom movement a few years ago, which is this is continuation of that. I obviously am no authority to give advice on that. We have guidance on political demonstration participations. The interpretation of that for each of the friends could be reached differently. I will not condemn the ones who participate. I can also understand the ones who felt like there's a different meaning. Unfortunately, there is also for some of the friends, maybe younger ones who are not well informed, some of the voices that are expressed have created a sense of disharmony and disheartening. That some of the older friends were saying that, in a very strict way, we can't do this, we can't do that. I'm very much against that in the faith, unless we have a direct guidance. So if we have a guidance from our national institutions, from the beloved House of Justice about exactly where to go, what not to do, we follow that to the T. But right now, judging each other or telling someone this is how it worked for me, why can't you do the same? In my humble opinion, again, this is purely personal opinion, it's very much, I would be against that. And I know it endangers the spiritual life of a lot of other friends. I don't know if that's, and one mentioned, yes, it is about justice. Correct. I think many of the friends, I think in maybe the civil rights movement faced some of these issues as well, and had to grapple with that. And of course, within demonstrations, different people have different views and opinions. But I know some of the Baha'i friends who did these, they held their standards. Some might disagree with what I just said, but that's okay.
Can you talk about what Baha'u'llah has said about the future of Iran and what tablet he mentioned this in?
Well, there are many tablets. Obviously, in the Kitab Aqdas, Baha'u'llah talks about the land of Ta, about Tehran and its future glory. And I am not the authority to talk about that. There's beautiful compilations of the future of Iran. Let me tell you, Furuz Khanum, what my thing is right now. God's life timeline is very different than our individual timeline. And since I was a child, I was told about the glory of Iran, what a sacred land it is, how wonderful it would be. I'm an old man now, I'm a grandpa. And I think the current moment, I think we're all aware that Iran is a very special place. I mean, these are facts about Iran. Iran has a glorious past. Abdu'l Baha, even though since age 9, never set foot in Iran, never forgot his identity about Iran. He loved Iran. He spoke about it. He spoke about his glory. Abdu'l Baha was deeply familiar. Amir Jan, listen to this. Abdu'l Baha was deeply familiar with Shahnameh. He uses characters of Shahnameh in many of his beautiful tablets. There are tablets to the Zoroastrian friends that he identifies many of the characters. Esfandiar, Feridun, and as those of you who are familiar, Shahnameh is the epic poem of great Ferdowsi that defines Iranianness. So there is that aspect of glory of this place, let alone the fact that two manifestations of God. Or the other thing that is my pet peeve that we haven't had a chance to talk about, many of the Baha'is who are less informed, we need to be more loud. Amir, remember this. When people say, well, what are you Baha'is are doing? Iranians are marching. My answer always is this. You're new to this game. I'm part of a movement that started 180 years ago to stop the authority of mullahs, to free women. I have talked about and loved a character like Tahireh, who took her veil off. I believe in a 24, 25-year-old prophet of Shiraz who told mullahs, your time is over with. There is no clergy in the system. this Baha'i movement, we need to present it as the original liberator of this culture and the world. And actually, the mystery of it is somehow the history of the world, there is a wisdom in God's plan we don't understand, but Iran's well-being is somehow tied to the well-being of the world. Because if two divine physicians appeared in Iran, in Persia, and the way this culture treats them, one of them is martyred and his body cannot be buried there, the other one is out of that land and has to be exiled to farthest corners of the earth, there is something very significant going on. Our little lives are just part of this. We're going to come, get old, and move on. But our perspective 500 years from now, when we look back, a lot of things might make more sense. So in your conversations with friends, I actually, not only we're not following or deciding whether or not we should participate in this walk or not, we've been marching and dying for 180 years.
Thank you very much, friends. We still have a bit of time if you would like to share your questions with us. Yeti?
Okay, so there was something that was going around from all the Baha'is around the world. It says from Abdul Baha, the future of Iran is of the utmost greatness, majesty, and glory, for it is the native land of the blessed beauty, which Dr. Farid just said. And all the nations of the earth will turn to and regard Iran with the high esteem. Know of certainty that it will make such progress as to dazzle the eyes of the mighty and the learned throughout the world. Abdul Baha.
Love you, Yeti John. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And also, I don't know if our discussion tonight, you will post it anywhere for Khanum. But since we talked about trauma, I want to say at least one word in case these things are put on YouTube or later. The perpetrators are also the major sufferers of this event. If anyone in Iran is discovering this, I'm calling to you. You are hurting yourself, and you would be for rest of your life on this earth. And then if you believe in a soul and a life after death, when you commit injustice, your karma would never forget it. And I know for a fact, people who have perpetrated injustice, they are the greatest sufferers.
That's right.
Themselves. I know a friend who was witness, and his brother was one of the martyrs of Hamadan. He had pursued the people who had perpetrated those atrocities towards the martyrs of Hamadan. If you recall, two of them were physicians. Every one of them suffered so much that they preferred death over life. And I guess I'm calling to you, if you are aware of your position, it's never too late to make the right choice, because the perpetrators suffer in a different way and a more horrible way than the oppressed one.
Thank you. Thank you very much for including this. I think that's very important. Let's see. One new question. No. A friend is introducing a book by Mr. Hushdar Mutlaq about the future of Iran. For the friends who speak Farsi, I don't see any more questions in chat, friends. Mr. Parsa, first of all, thank you so much for coming to our space tonight. And we appreciate it. In case you want to make a comment or ask a question or whatever, you're more than welcome. Friends, no more questions?
Yes, I just want to also mention my dear Amir Sabetan had mentioned, there's the Iranian or Muslim tradition on the 40th day after the passing. We don't actually use the word martyrdom anymore. Amirjan, what is the word? Is Javdan?
And Jovidno instead of
Javidnam.
yeah.
Those ones who have become their name has become eternal to perpetuity. He had asked that we will have sessions of prayers for the loved ones, and some of the ones that you were in contact, friends in Iran, had written him, their hearts are all shredded. I do ask you, Amir, if you could convey to them that there was a relatively good sized gathering all around the world, and we are with them. We are their voice. We say prayers for them and with them, and please convey that.
Sure, I'm just going to talk with them, but maybe for some security for the people in Iran, maybe
Yes.
just ask them to just record their voice and just
Thank you.
play there.
Thank you. Be careful yourself as well, and their safety. All right.
Thank you.
And then if any of you are professionals who have interest in this field, I want you to sort of like think about a loosely affiliated group for some time in future, because we have a lot of work to do, both I think from a legal aspect to represent people who have been hurt directly, and at the same time providing healing spaces and clinics and systems, or at least introducing those friends who are in need to the systems that are open already medically and psychologically to assist people. And then if ourselves are affected by that, or we just feel like we're not, but sometimes it's affecting all aspects of our life, to be open to this idea. I think within the Baha'i community, sometimes it's an either or mentality. You either say prayers or you go get help. And the part of the harmony of science and religion is this recognition of understanding solutions from all fronts.
There is a question that the friends in Iran have asked for the fire tablet daily for them.
Yes, yes, especially the youth. Youth had specially asked for fire tablet. And we will do our best, and we will respond to them that we are their voice and we will remember them. And then just in my tradition, with those of you who are from the classes that we've been together, if anyone, I know the time is past 8:30, anyone that is busy and needs to go, please, feel free to do what you need to do. Thank you. Because these Zoom meetings should not last beyond a certain time, with due respect to Furuz Khanum.
Gary, are you here?
Thank you, Gary. That's a great comment.
Yes.
Okay. Gary, can we see you? Hi, Gary. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. From 8:30 on to 9 o'clock, we always have prayers, and we have dedicated this session to the people of Iran and the Baha'is of Iran. Dr. Sabet, it's been a very moving session. It's easy for me to talk, but I couldn't. I was just dumbfounded. But anyways, it was a very heartfelt subject, and it was a very difficult subject. I wanted to appreciate the fact that you accepted to be with us, particularly at this time. I really, really appreciate it. Maybe we can continue this with another session in case friends would have more questions. I put it in the chat as to how you can find our previous sessions or the recording of this session. It's a link, and it is in the chat. With your permission, Dr. Sabet, if anybody would like to leave, I would like to wholeheartedly thank them for being here tonight and share this experience with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will move
And also, I want to thank Farid to see Mehran Mugharabi. So nice to see you after so many years. So I enjoyed very much your talk.
I love Dr. Mugharabi. Nice to see you here. I missed you so much.
You too. Yeah, remembering our time in Llewellyn with
Of
all
course.
the
Allah pa akhi baba. Lord khanum baba. Allah pa.
kids. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Aziz. Good to see you. Inshallah soon.
Okay. Gary, would you like to start our devotional part, please? And friends, if you'd like to say prayers, you're more than welcome to raise your hands. And Amirjan, thank you for joining us tonight. It was wonderful. It was great to see that beautiful green and white and red at the background. It was beautiful. Thank you. You added so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank Dr. Farid and everyone.
So I will offer this prayer for triumph of the cause and then part of the chant of a prayer. Because I know if I just recite the prayer for rules, you will later ask me to chant. So yeah. I will do this.
That's true.
Aloha, aloha, aloha. Aloha, aloha, aloha. Aloha, aloha, aloha. He is God, O Lord, my God, my well-beloved. These are servants of thine that have heard thy voice, given ear to thy word, and hearkened to thy call. They have believed in thee, witnessed thy wonders, acknowledged thy proof, and testified to thine evidence. They have walked in thy ways, followed thy guidance, discovered thy mysteries, comprehended the secrets of thy book, the verses of thy scrolls, and the tidings of thy epistles and tablets. They have clung to the hem of thy garment and held fast unto the robe of thy light and grandeur. Their footsteps have been strengthened in thy covenant, and their hearts made firm in thy testament. Lord, do thou kindle in their hearts.
Aniela Costello, FaceTime video.
Pardon me. Do thou kindle in their hearts the flame of thy divine attraction, and grant that the bird of love and understanding may sing within their hearts. Grant that they may be even as potent signs, resplendent standards, and perfect as thy word. Exalt by them thy cause, unfurl thy banners, and publish far and wide thy wonders. Make by them thy word triumphant, and strengthen the loins of thy loved ones. Unloose their tongues to laud thy name, and inspire them to do thy holy will and pleasure. Illumine their faces in thy kingdom of holiness, and perfect their joy by aiding them to arise for the triumph of thy cause. Lord, feeble are we. Strengthen us to diffuse the fragrances of thy holiness. Pour, enrich us from the treasures of thy divine unity. Naked, clothe us with the robe of thy bounty. Sinful, forgive us our sins by thy grace, thy favor, and thy pardon. Thou art verily the aider, the helper, the gracious, the mighty, the powerful. The glory of glories rest upon them that are fast and firm. Abdul Baha. He who puts his trust in God, God will suffice him. He who fears God, God will send him relief. He who puts his trust in God, God will suffice him. He who fears God, God will send him relief. God will send him relief. God will send him relief. He who puts his trust in God, God will suffice him. He who fears God, God will send him relief. Ya Baha'u'llah.
Go ahead, Furukhanu.
Allah. I pray this for Baha'is in Iran. Oh Allah, ای خداوند بیمانم، یاران عبدالبها را یاوری کن و گناهکاران را بزرگواری نما. بزم غفران بیارا و جام فضل و احسان بخش. بیچارگان و آوارگان را ملجأ و پناه ده و آگاه فرما. دستگیر شو مجیر گرد تا هر اسیر و فقیر از خوان نعمتت نصیب و بهره بردارد. تویی مقتدر و توانا و تویی دهنده و بخشنده و مهربان. عبدالبها عباس.
Mr. Genga, please.
Yeah, thank you. He is the compassionate, the all-bountiful. O God, my God, thou seest me, thou knowest me, thou art my heaven and my refuge. None have I sought, nor any will I seek save thee. No path have I trodden, nor any will I tread, but a path of thy love. In the darksome night of despair, my eye turneth expectant and full of hope to the morn of thy boundless favor, and at the hour of dawn, my drooping soul is refreshed and strengthened in remembrance of thy beauty and perfection. He whom the grace of thy mercy aided, though he be but a drop, shall become the boundless ocean, and the merest atom, which the outpouring of thy loving kindness assisted, shall shine even as the radiant star. Shelter under thy protection, O thou Spirit of purity, thou who art the all-bountiful provider, this enthralled and kindled servant of thine. Aid him in this world of being to remain steadfast and firm in thy love, and grant that this broken-winged bird attain a refuge and shelter in thy divine nest that abideth upon the celestial tree. Abdul Baha.
Simijun, go ahead, please.
Prayer for the persecuted Baha'is in Iran. O God, my God, thou seest thy loved ones turning their hearts to thee and holding fast unto the cord of thy ordinances and laws. I beseech thee by the waves of the sea of thine utterance, and by him through whom thou didst adorn the heavens of thy might, to graciously protect them by the aid of thy hosts. O God, thou beholdest thy lovers in Iran in the clutches of hate and enmity. I beg of thee, by thy mercy which hath preceded the contingent world, to raise up from the earth those who will be moved to aid and protect them, and to preserve the rights and the restitution due to them by those who broke thy covenant and testament, and perpetrated such acts as made the inmates of the cities of thy justice and equity to lament. Thou art verily the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the all-wise.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it my turn now?
I don't see.
You're muted, Farouz.
Can you wait for a second, please? Mr. David, can you wait for a second, please?
Okay.
I appreciate it. Louise and Bob, did you want to say a prayer, please?
Okay, did you unmute us?
Yes, it is unmute.
Thank you. We found a beautiful prayer from Shoghi Effendi for the friends in Iran. And I was so happy to hear this wonderful speaker tonight. Because friends, we have to realize that those 40,000 beautiful souls that have been taken from us, from this world, they are busy. They are our strength. And we should call on each one of them to help us establish this new world order. We just have to take that into our hearts. So Shoghi Effendi's prayer is so beautiful. He said, "O God, thy sincere servants are afflicted by the malice and cruelty of such as oppose thee. Do thou deliver them. The beloved of that resplendent beauty are as oppressed sheep in the claws of ignorant, malicious wolves. Do thou release them. The nightingales of thy garden of sanctity are sobbing amongst the owls of deceit and treachery. Be thou their defender. The fair-faced lovers of thy precious cause are caught in the machinations of cruel and oppressive fiends. Set them free. Although calamity is the wellspring of bounty, yet the hearts of thy kindred are more delicate than a breeze from the east. While the tyranny of the enemies is the herald proclaiming this glorious cause, yet the weakened and fainting friends are being pierced by the ceaseless darts of a hostile people. The servant of thy threshold, Shoghi Effendi, and let's not forget to call on his assistance. Thank you so much, dear friends.
Thank you, Louise. I really, really appreciate it. Please, David, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I don't know where I heard. I think it was maybe it was Tahrik. You can't stop the sun from shining. All the persecution that's going on right now, and I think it was Shoghi Effendi who said that the immediate future is very dark, as we can see what's going on in Iran. But the far future is unimaginably glorious. So I would like to kind of remind the friends of the far future, that the kingdom of God is already starting. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. He who is the sovereign Lord of all is now manifest. The kingdom is God's. The kingdom is God's. The Lord of all names has come with world embracing sovereignty. The mystic dove proclaimeth from his blissful bower on this day. The kingdom is God's. The kingdom is God's. The glory of greatness belongeth to God. The incomparable, the all-compelling. This is the day when the tongue of grandeur calling aloud. The kingdom is God. The kingdom is God. The Lord of the day of resurrection. The day that has been illumined by the effulgent light of the countenance of God. The day that has been illumined by the effulgent light of the countenance of God.
This is a prayer by the beloved guardian in Persian. هوالله ای قوی قدیر و حافظ امین، اقنام تو هستیم محافظه نما، منادیان امر توییم تأیید و توفیق بخش، ناشرین نفحه طیبه مسکیه الهی هستیم، ما را از مادونت فارغ کن و پاک و مقدس نما. حامل پیام نجاتیم، به اعمال و اخلاق ملکوتی در انجمن عالم مبعوث فرما. منتظر ظهور بشارات توییم و دل به وعده های محکمت بسته، قوتت را نمایان نما و به تحقق آمال این قلوب محترقه را شاد و مستبشر کن. این فئه مظلومه را از بد ظهور در کهف منی و ملاذ رفیعت محافظه فرمودی و در تحت سلاسل و اغلال آیین مبینت را اعلام فرمودی و در آتش بلا رخ حبیبانت را برافروختی و به دماء شهیدانت شجره امرت را سقایت کردی. هیکل زیبای مقدس امرت را از ظلم و جفای دول و ملوک عالم و لعن و طعن اعدا و دسایس ناقضان اهریمنان سوس عنصر سقایت و وقایت فرمودی و به انواع محن و بلایا و اسرت و غربت و نفی و زندان رافعین لوایت را ممتحن و مخصص فرمودی. حال وقت عزت و نصرت است. ابواب آسایش و جلال را بر وجه آن ستم دیدگان مفتوح کن و عظمت و قوت قدیمت را نمایان نما. بهایان مظلوم را قوت عنایت کن و مفتخر و مشتهر نما. عالم ملک را در ظل ذلیل شریعت مقدسه درآور. آنچه را به ایرانیان که یاران عزیز تو اند وعده فرمودی ظاهر کن و وحود الهیه که در کتاب اقدست مستور اکمال و اتمام فرما. تویی مقلب قلوب و کاشف کروب، تویی سمیع و مجیب و تویی قادر و توانا، بنده آستانش شوقی.
Diana, go ahead, please.
I entreat thee, O Lord of names and creator of the heavens, by the blood spilled in thy path, and by the heads carried aloft on spears for the sake of thy love, and by the souls that have melted in their separation from thy loved ones, and by the hearts broken for the exaltation of thy world, to grant that the dwellers of thy realm may unite together in their allegiance to thy incomparable words, so that they may all acknowledge the unity and thy oneness. There is no God but thee, the omnipotent, the most exalted, the knowing, the wise.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate it. Thank you. Neely June.
This is for aid and assistance. O thou kind Lord, we are servants of thy threshold, taking shelter at thy holy door. We seek no refuge, save only this strong pillar. Turn nowhere for a haven, but unto thy safekeeping. Protect us, bless us, support us. Make us such that we shall love but thy good pleasure, utter only thy praise, follow only the pathway of truth, that we may become rich enough to dispense with all save thee, and receive our gifts from the sea of thy beneficence, that we may ever strive to exalt thy cause, and to spread thy sweet Saviours far and wide, that we may become oblivious of self, and occupied only with thee, and disown all else, and be caught up in thee. O thou provider, O thou forgiver, grant us thy grace and loving kindness, thy gifts and thy bestowals, and sustain us that we may attain our goal. Thou art the powerful, the able, the knower, the seer, and verily thou art the generous, and verily thou art the all-merciful, and verily thou art the ever-forgiving, he to whom repentance is due, he who forgiveth even the most grievous of sins. Abdul Baha.
Persian prayer by Abdul Baha for Friends of Iran. هوالله، ای خداوند مهربان، به فریاد بیچارگان برس. ای پاک یزدان، بر این اطفال یتیم رحم فرما. ای خداوند بی‌نیاز، این سیل شدید را قطع کن. ای خالق جهانیان، این آتش افروخته را خاموش کن. ای دادرس، به فریاد یتیمان برس. ای داور حقیقی، مادران جگرخون را تسلی ده. ای رحمان، ای رحمان رحیم، بر چشم گریان و دل سوزان پدران رحم نما. این طوفان را ساکت کن و این جنگ جهانگیر را به صلح و آشتی مبدل فرما. تویی بینا و شنوا. عین عین.
I pray in Portuguese de remove the difficulties. Quem remova as dificuldades, a não ser Deus. Diz e louvado seja Deus, Ele é Deus. Todos são seus servos e todos aquiescem ao seu mandamento. Há quem remova as dificuldades, a não ser Deus. Dize louvado seja Deus, Ele é Deus. Todos são seus servos e todos aquiescem aos seus mandamentos. Ubá, ubá.
Shirin Khanum, go ahead, please.
هو حسبي وحسب كل شيء وكفى بالله حسيبا هو حسبي وحسب كل شيء وكفى بالله حسيبا هو حسبي وحسب كل شيء وكفى بالله حسيبا.
Intone, O my servant, the verses of God that have been received by thee, as intoned by them who have drawn nigh unto him, that the sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul and attract the hearts of all men. Whoso reciteth in the privacy of his chamber the verses revealed by God, the scattering angels of the Almighty shall scatter abroad the fragrance of the words uttered by his mouth, and shall cause the heart of every righteous man to throb. Though he may at first remain unaware of its effect, yet the virtue of the grace vouchsafed unto him must needs sooner or later exercise its influence upon his soul. Thus have the mysteries of the revelation of God been decreed by virtue of the will of him who is the source of power and wisdom. Paula.
May I say a prayer?
Yes, please.
I'm going to try because I got emotional to do it, so I had to. Thy name is my healing, oh my God. In the remembrance of thee is my remedy. Teu nome é minha cura, ó meu Deus, e a lembrança de ti, meu remédio. Aproximar-me de ti é minha esperança, e meu amor por ti, meu companheiro. Tua misericórdia por mim é minha cura e meu socorro, tanto neste mundo quanto no vindouro. Tu, em verdade, és o todo generoso, o onisciente, a suprema sabedoria. Que os espíritos dos iranianos, porque quando a gente se torna Bahá'í, a gente se sente metade iraniana também.
Speak
Tudo que
English.
acontece.
Speak English.
Oh, I'm sorry. When we become a Baha'i, we feel like half of me is Iranian because Baha'u'llah, and Abdul Baha. So when I saw that, I cannot even imagine. I'm Vanny Whitaker, and the person who invited me to come here was Regina, and I'm from Brazil originally, but I am married to an American. I've been married for 32 years. And I'm telling you, it's really hard.
Thank you so much for sympathizing. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And please do come back. Thank you
I
so much,
will.
Regina. Thank you so much for sharing the invitation with your friend. Thank you so much. Your
Thank
sympathy
you, Farouz.
means the world to us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You are amazing, Farouz. Always I want to tell you for you are. I never participate in a meeting like this.
Yeah.
That's
Was
lovely.
amazing.
I
It's
really
very
need
spiritual.
I really needed this particularly tonight because everything went wrong. I was so sad and depressed myself. Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement and your love. We all need encouragement. We all need love. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Amir Jan, do you want to say something? Do you want to read something? I don't know why Dr. Farid's screen is, I don't know if, okay, perfect. Thank you. Amir
Thank you.
Jan,
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Amir Jan کجایی؟ Amir Jan, say something.
Yeah, sure.
عزیزم.
Yeah. Maybe next time. Yeah, just I'm not be ready right now.
It's so wonderful to see you, Amir. It's
Thanks.
so wonderful to see the flag behind you.
Thank you.
And it's so wonderful that we are all under the same flag.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Amir John was just sharing with me that, the bright side of everything we're talking about, we are seeing the courage of the Iranians and the Iranian youth and compatriots of where the Bab and Baha'u'llah came from, because they're showing courage, they're showing light in face of total darkness and fearlessness. And, as Baha'is, we have plenty of examples of youth that show fearlessness, our immortal Badi and many, many more. So Amirjan was just conveying that to me, and he's in contact with friends in Iran.
What a precious jewel tonight. Thank you, Amir Jan. Thank you. Appreciate it. Your parents must be very proud of you. David, I don't know, whenever you want to say a prayer, it's like a big truck is starting to move. But next time, can you look at your, if possible, audio situation? But please go ahead and say your prayer, please.
No, it's not a prayer. I already said, yeah. I have a hearing aid, and I think that's affecting the audio. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it. It's maybe me. Don't worry about it.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I've taken part in many Zoom meetings. And your meetings, I feel more inspired than any of them. And I thank you very, very much for initiating and continuing this. And I look forward now to participating in your wonderful meetings. Thank you. Thank you.
David, it's only because of the speakers and participants. That's it. So we are grateful to Dr. Sabet and the rest of our speakers and to all of you who participate and make this space warm and kind and beautiful. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for your encouragement.
Yeah, but you're the one who initiated it. That gives us a chance for the speakers and everything. So try not to be so modest and humble. I mean, you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
I agree with David. Thank you again, Furuz Khanum. And then for the interest, I know this is not my meeting, but I would like to sort of limit the time. David, you sound like you're coming from a wonderful galaxy far, far away. And you have the divine voice with the echo. I love it. So that was great. And then
you needed a doctor to describe it. For me, it was so hard, but the idea of a different galaxy was just fantastic. Yes.
especially saying Baha'u'llah in the background. But I'm going to excuse myself. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. And hope to see you all together and some of the dear friends that I hadn't met in a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farid.
So much.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Farid, was wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
Ya Bahalapa.
Amir John, thank you for joining us tonight. That was lovely.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Mr. Perimal, you haven't said a prayer for a long time. I'm upset with you. Do you want to rectify this problem?
I want to say the prayer, but there are other people talking, so I remain silent.
You always raised your hand. No, I won't accept any of that. Can you please say a prayer for Iran?
Now?
Yes, now, exactly.
Okay. I will say a prayer by Baha'u'llah.
Sure.
Let's pray. Lauded be thy name, O thou who beholdest all things and art hidden from all things. From every land thou hearest the lamentations of them that love thee. And from every direction thou hearkenest unto the cries of such as have recognized thee, thy sovereignty. Were the oppressor to be asked, wherefore have he oppressed them and held them in bondage in Baghdad and elsewhere? What injustice have they committed? Whom have they betrayed? Whose blood have they spilled? And whose property have they plundered? They would not know what to answer. Thou knowest fully well, O my God, that the only crime is this, to have loved thee. For this reason have the oppressor laid hold on them and scattered them abroad. Ever as I am, O my God, that thou wilt send down upon thy servants only what is good for them. I nevertheless beseech thee by thy name, which overshadowed all things, to raise up for their assistance and as a sign of thy grace, as an evidence of thy power, those who will keep them safe from all adversaries. Potent art thou to do thy pleasure. Thou art verily the supreme ruler, the Almighty, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Malihijin, do you want to say an Italian prayer by any chance?
Did you talk to me, Furzande?
Yes. You're the only Malihe here.
Okay. Let me bring my prayer book.
Sure, sure.
Furzjan, I have a question. Have you
Please go ahead.
recorded doctor's talk too? We can listen another time?
I put that in the chat that
Okay.
we do have a link under the Baha'is of Oakville, and it is in the chat. It's a link. When you press that link, tomorrow you will see the YouTube recording of Dr. Sabet's talk.
So how can I save this link?
How can I give it to you?
I don't know. How can you do that?
You know chat?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
see it in the chat.
Here
Yeah. Under your
okay.
name. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see here what? No, not this one, but the one that says, hold on.
Furzande
Juna.
She can send it to herself, or she can open it and send
That's
it.
right. That's right. Okay. It says the link of last week's session.
Yeah.
If you click on it, you click on it right now.
Okay.
Okay. Now it will open for you. Do you
Oh,
see
yeah.
that?
It's open on Facebook, on YouTube. Yeah.
On YouTube, yeah. You just keep it there, preserve it. When you say goodbye to us, you copy and paste the link if you want.
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Friends, is there anybody else who wants to say a prayer tonight? Malihijun?
Okay.
Then go ahead, please.
Ok. Oh mio Dio, lascia che la tua bellezza sia il mio cibo e la tua presenza il mio nettare e il tuo compiacimento la mia speranza e la lode di te il mio agire e il ricordo di te il mio compagno e la potenza della tua sovranità il mio soccorso e la tua sovranità il mio soccorso e la tua dimora la mia casa e la mia dimora il seggio che tu hai purificato dalle limitazioni che sono imposte e coloro che sono separati da te come da un velo. Tu sei in verità il possente, il gloriosissimo, l'onnipotente. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Much love to every single one of you. Thank you for sharing your Thursday nights with us. Appreciate it. See you next Thursday. We'll have another great session together. Much love, and I will not turn off the screen because I would like to save the chat. But thank you and thank you and thank you very much. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Ruth, you have 1 second. I have a question for you.
Sure. Go ahead.
I